What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. We're back with another episode this week. Good stuff going on throughout the weekend here in sports. Good stuff coming up this week here in sports. I know a lot of people got a busy week here upcoming. So I'm going to run you down with everything that's happened and is going to happen. This is your Sports Digest. I'm your host, Alex McNinch. As I mentioned, back with another episode. And I had some great weekend of sports here. Some great series going on in both hockey and basketball. Baseball is in full swing, kicking it down in college and the MLB. We're going to cover it all here today and get you guys caught up with stuff you may have missed if you didn't get to watch a game, and stuff to look forward to this week if you're going to be able to watch any. Just to preface this, I am recording immediately after the 76ers and Celtics games, and if you watched that game, that was a fantastic game, ended in overtime. We'll get to that in just a second, but I'd like to start off by saying I'm a complete buffoon. Last week I said that I was going to start my NBA season outlooks, or my NBA offseason outlooks on Monday's show or Friday's show, whatever, after the NBA draft lottery. And I'm a complete idiot. Didn't realize the draft lottery isn't until like the 16th. So we won't be doing that this week at all. I realize the NHL draft lottery is this Tuesday or Thursday, whatever, or Wednesday. It's sometime this week. That's what I thought was going to be the NBA. Ends up being the NHL. So we won't do our NBA offseason stuff, but whenever the NHL stuff happens, we'll talk about the lottery. But the thing that's dominating all of sports right now is playoff basketball. So let's just hop right into it. And we'll go ahead and talk about this series that I just watched, because left you guys off last on Friday as the Celtics and 76ers played their Game 3 on that Friday night. The Celtics won that game 114-102. It was a pretty close game throughout the entire night. Great performance from Joel Embiid, who got the MVP award before the game. He had an incredible game, 30 and 13. But shot 11 for 12 from the free throw line. And the big story in that was James Harden shooting 3 for 14 after having an incredible Game 1. Game 2 was terrible. Game 3, his assist number went up and his points went down. But it wasn't the Harden we expected. DeAnthony Melton had a good game off the bench as well. And then on the other side, it was just a group effort from the Celtics. Everybody in the starting lineup in double digits in scoring. The Celtics ended up winning that game 114-102. And then on Sunday, like I said, right after after the game I'm recording this, the 76ers just won in overtime, 116-115. The series is tied up 2-2 going back to Boston. This is a crazy game. Crazy game going down. For most of the game, Philly was up by double digits, almost up by 20 at one point. Jason Tatum was held to 2 points in the entire first half. It was just, the Celtics could not find a way to score at all. They forced themselves to isolation way too much, which allowed the 76ers defense, which is one of the best in the league, to settle in and play that one-on-one defense, send the traps, send the help. And they were just kind of stuck. Tatum started out, like I mentioned, terrible, and Philly, they were just rolling. And when Philly is rolling, they're rolling. And one of the big things I noticed throughout the first half and third quarter that really had the 76ers going and keeping their lead is that they pushed in transition a lot. Tobias Harris was able to get out in transition and force a lot of the Celtics guys to have to speed up, which led trailers to come down and score. Same with Tyrese Maxey. We know he's known for his speed and quickness. So he did a great job in transition as well as Harden did. But the two superstars for the 76ers getting it done, Harden with 42, 8, and 9, Embiid with 34, 13, and 4. Harden with the three-pointer to put him ahead, I believe, with like 15 seconds left. Boston came down, ran a play that really didn't work. Tatum drove in, saw 4. Kicked it out to Marcus Smart, who didn't get the shot off before the time expired, and hit the shot, which is hilarious because to end regulation, It was pretty much the exact same play except on the other side of the court. Jason Tatum drove in, saw three, kicked it out to Marcus Smart wide open, and bricked it. End of the game, kick it out to Marcus Smart wide open, and didn't even get the shot up before the buzzer happened. But the big thing to talk about there in that ending is Joe Mazzulla. They were just talking about it on the broadcast literally minutes before the final play of the game, talking about how Mazzulla loves to hold his timeouts and wait till the end when they need him. And it's like, okay, this is going to be a great time. Harden just hit the three, call your timeout, get your play set up. He doesn't do it. Same thing to end the first half. He didn't call a timeout, allowed his guys to go out there and figure it out themselves, run the play themselves. And both times it didn't work at all. Led to Marcus Smart threes when you need to find Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. It was a rough game from the entire standpoint of Boston. But the unsung hero of that game for a while, especially down the stretch, is Al Horford. I believe he had 5 blocks. Yeah, he had 5 blocks, 2 steals. I had a couple deflections there at the end, knockaways. He was playing great defense down the stretch on Embiid, who had been really working him the entire game in the pick and roll elbow jumper that Embiid loves to get to. That's his spot. Horford made an adjustment in the second half, noticed that, and put a little bit more pressure on him, and Joel just stopped being physical, and that's when Harden eventually became himself and started attacking and doing what James Harden normally did back with Houston. And like I said, the 76ers win that game in overtime. The series is tied 2-2. They're going to go back and play in Boston on Tuesday night. And a couple things else I want to note on that game, this game in particular, and the 76ers, I guess, is that they better be happy and thankful that P.J. Tucker is on this basketball team. Because if P.J. Tucker was not on the 76ers, my God, they would have given up in the second quarter. Like, this team would have never gone on their run. It's embarrassing to watch sometimes how, like, emotionally detached they get away from the game. I saw P.J. Tucker running up and getting into people's faces every single time, like his own teammates' faces, like Joel specifically, like, hey, you're that guy. You're much bigger than everybody else. Attack. Stop being soft. And, like, and right after he said it, they would do it. Joel would go in and attack. I think right after PJ did it in the fourth quarter, Joel came down and attacked the rim over 3 people. And it's just like, man, imagine if P.J. Tucker wasn't on this team, because who would be telling Joel to be more aggressive? He's not going to listen to Harden. Harden's not that vocal leader. Tobias Harris, you don't take him seriously. There's nobody else on that. Dwayne Dedmon off the bench? Sure, I guess if that's who you want to listen to. But, man, it's just it's tough knowing that this team doesn't have, the true firepower within themselves, and that that they're relying on one guy, honestly, to fire him up, because Doc Rivers isn't going to be the guy that comes and yell in your face. You can barely hear him when he talks normally, so I don't expect you to be threatened by him when he yells at you. And then another thing, we'll talk about the Lakers and stuff in a little bit, but LeBron had a comment over the weekend where he was telling his teammates to watch the games. I watched the game on mute and turned some music on. I might have to start doing that whenever Doris Burke and Mark Davis commentate games, because my goodness, it's not Mark Davis's fault necessarily. It's not him. It's just Doris Burke and her I don't know what it is. She's not like associated with the 76ers at all, but I felt like I was watching NBC Sports Philadelphia. Like, it was so bad half the time. It was a very biased commentating from her side, which I don't get why she has so much love for Philly. Apparently she's from New York, so it makes a lot of sense why she would hate a Boston team, knowing that, all the Boston and New York sports rivalries. It would make sense why she probably hates a Boston team, especially since the fact she's so old. She probably was there when Babe Ruth called his shot for the first time. So I don't know what her problem is. I don't know what some of these commentators' problems are, because we'll get into another commentating tandem in a little bit, but man, it's just like try to make the moment good. Mark Davis is fine for the moment, but man, I just don't know what was going on. You need to find somebody who gets a little bit more energy in there. But like I said, 2-2 series tie for that. They play Tuesday night for Game 5 back in Boston. And the other game that happened on Friday was Phoenix and Denver. Phoenix hosting the Nuggets in Phoenix, Arizona. The Suns win that game 121-114. The Nuggets have a 2-1 series lead. The Suns get on the board there with the win. Obviously, Chris Paul did not play with that groin injury. This is being recorded before the Game 4 on Sunday night, so I don't have an immediate reaction to that, but I can give you my reaction from what I watched on Friday, and it's that Phoenix dominated the first half. Nuggets had an incredible third quarter, and it came down to star power who was going to win this game. Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic both had 30. Jokic specifically had 30, 17, and 17. That's ridiculous. And then for Phoenix, Booker had 47 and 39, or 47, and Durant had 39. So it was a very star power driven game, but it came down to the end there where it looked like Denver just kind of ran out of gas. They didn't have it. Aaron Gordon shot 3 for 13. Michael Porter Jr. had 21 points. He was trying to help. KCP wasn't doing much. Brown wasn't doing much. But it kind of goes back here to Phoenix, and I talked about again at nauseum about how the depth of this team is going to be the reason that they lose this series. Is going to be the reason they don't go far at all. And I just mentioned Devin Booker had 47 and Kevin Durant had 39. Not a single soul on that team had double digits outside of that. No one else on the team even had 10 points. Hell, nobody even on the team had 9 points, 8 points. The next leading scorer was tied with Cam Payne and TJ Warren with 7. Both shot 3 for 9 and 3 for 7. Like, DeAndre Ayton is your center. 4 points. 9 rebounds, 2 for 6, and he had to get taken out because he doesn't play with any physicality. Jock Landale had to play the game. It was just like, it's like, all right, you just got to double team both of these guys and be like, hey, look, if they beat us, these guys will beat us. Let's make sure that these guys don't go nuclear like they did tonight. And I assume that Mike Malone's going to make that adjustment here for Game 4. That's going to come up later after I finish recording. But it was just another poor shooting night the three-pointers were up a little bit, but still the percentages were not great. I felt like this was a pretty fair game calling from the official standpoint wise, I guess. Like I said, it just kind of came down to Denver running out of gas and not being able to keep up there in the fourth quarter when Devin and Kevin, the new dynamic duo I've created, the Devin-Kevin relationship, was doing their thing in the fourth quarter and ended up winning them that game, obviously, 114-121, the final score. The second game of Game 4 in Phoenix is happening Sunday night. I will not be talking about it because it didn't happen, but I assume it's going to be a good game. I expect the Nuggets to bounce back a little bit here, so keep an eye out for that. Moving on to Saturday, where we had our other two series taking place. The first game of the day, Game 3 between the Heat and the Knicks, happening in South Beach. The Miami Heat win that game 105-86 to take a 2-1 series lead going into Game 4 on Monday night. This is just a game of Miami was getting all of their shots, and New York couldn't. And it was there's a lot of things to say about both of these teams. One, Miami's got a lot of grit. They got a lot of veterans, a lot of older guys that are even younger in the league experience-wise, but older players that they just understand how to play. They understand how to play the game. They play hard. They play like this is the last game they're ever going to play. I love to see a lot of these guys on this team play. I told you guys about Max Strus having one of the better percentages shooting-wise in the league at home. He didn't shoot well from 3, but he gave you 19 points. I told you he was going to be the key to winning that game, and having that extra guy He was the second leading scorer on the team for Miami. That was a great bet. If you listen to me for Max Strus over on his points, that was probably a good bet to take. Adebayo had 17 and 12, and Jimmy Butler, after missing Game 2, came back in Game 3 here with 28 points, shooting 9 for 21. Very un-Jimmy-like percentage, but he's still getting 28 points. He's shooting 10 for 11 from the free throw line. And on the flip side with New York, Jalen Brunson had 20 but went 7 for 20. Josh Hart was playing solid defense. He was hustling. He seemed like the only one who was really caring out there. R.J. Barrett, 14 points but 5 for 16 shooting. And Julius Randle, who had way too much going on for himself within this game, 10 and 14. That's 10 points, 14 rebounds, 4 for 15 from the field, 2 for 5 from the free throw line. And he's just trying to fight everybody on the court, it looks like, which I don't get his issue. He hip-checked Cody Zeller. Like, who's trying to go after Cody Zeller like you feel threatened by him? No offense to Cody Zeller, but I think that's the last guy you want to feel truly threatened by on that Miami team. And then later they got into a little tussle, and Julius got thrown down. Caleb Martin came in and started yelling at him, Isaiah Hartenstein, the whole scuffle there. But, again, I think it's just a team that got salty that they couldn't find a way to score, and Miami was just continuing to score. They had no answer for them defensively. But this is, again, Tom Thibodeau coaching in the playoffs. You just never know what you're going to get defensively from them, and you don't know what kind of effort your team's going to come out with. But Miami won that game 105-86. It was kind of close throughout, but Miami pretty much took the heavy lead in the second quarter going into halftime, and it was pretty much done from there. Like I said, Game 4 will be Monday night as the podcast drops. It'll be tonight whenever you listen to this. And then the other game on Saturday was this. I mean, everyone got so excited for this series. Steph and LeBron, but not in the finals this time. Let's see how we could do. The Lakers, Warriors, two of the most bandwagon teams in the NBA. Let's see which fan base kills each other first. And I think it's the fans who don't want to be around for this series much longer if we're going to keep having to watch what's going on here. The Lakers win this game 127-97 in L.A. Staples Center, who cares, whatever you call the arena. The Lakers have a 2-1 series lead. The thing to note, I think everybody is going to talk about it or notice it, is the 37-17 free throw differential. That's an interesting thing to note on. In Game 1, I believe it was, where the free throws were around the same differential, and it was bad, and you heard a lot of complaints from Warriors fans about it, and the rest of the NBA fans about this free throw differential. I mentioned how the shots that the Warriors were taking, half of their shots were from the three-point line. So how are you expecting them to get all these foul calls and these free throws if you're shooting half your shots from the three-point line? And, I mean, the same goes here for this game. You're shooting 44 of your 91 shots from three, but then again, I mean, there's no way that you should have 20 less free throws taken than another team. There's obviously something there. I'm not saying that anything is rigged. I'm not saying anything that there's a favoritism, because last game the Warriors got more free throws, and it's just starting to seem like this is they're trying to do this little free throw game and try to extend the series as much as possible. I do find it hilarious how Warriors fans are complaining about the referees and not getting free throws now, because it's very ironic that they're the ones complaining about this. But it's a weird series. But to be fair, Steph and Clay both didn't shoot the ball very well. Jordan Poole didn't shoot the ball very well. I don't think LeBron had a point in the first quarter, which I had a bet on LeBron, so I appreciate him really putting in the effort for me that night. Austin Reeves can't shoot the ball very well. After calling and declaring himself him in Game 1, he stops flopping around the place. And, well, he's still shooting 5% from the free throw line, but that's the only way he can score any points, is by flopping around and yelling and getting to the free throw line, because he is not him in any other fashion within the game. D'Angelo Russell started out the game. I think he had 13 in the first quarter. That was the really driving point. And another thing to note here within this game is Anthony Davis doing his super inconsistent crap again, where we're going to have a 30-20 game, and then I'm going to score 4 points. And it's not exactly 4 points. I think it was, 11 or something? But you get the idea. And then the next game here, he scores 25 and 13. Like, I'm expecting now next game Anthony Davis to now have, 8 points and foul out or get hurt somehow. And it's just, we can't find any true consistency within Anthony Davis, and that's going to hurt this team a lot going down the stretch because he's the key piece for that team. I always talked about it during the Grizzlies series whenever we just started this podcast or whenever I talked to my friends. My number one thing I talked about was, hey, we don't capitalize when LeBron goes out anymore. That used to be the thing. LeBron's checking out of the game. Now we got to score. That's no longer the case. When Anthony Davis goes out, that's when we wanted to score because now there isn't the guy sitting in the paint ruining your presence. But with Golden State, I don't really know if it matters necessarily with the fact that they shoot so many threes, but Anthony Davis is so dominant, and they don't have really anybody on that team that could truly stop him. So you got to capitalize when he's out of the game compared to LeBron. So he's the most interesting and important guy in this series, in my opinion. And I know it's a hot take saying that the second best player on this team, maybe the best player on this Lakers team, is the most important guy in the series, but it really is true. If you know Anthony Davis and his stuff and his story, that's obviously going to be a topic to talk about with him. But like I mentioned, the Lakers win this game 127-97 in a complete blowout. Lakers have a 2-1 series lead. They'll play again Monday night in L.A. That's the playoff series so far. I wish I could have probably done this a little later, but I got to do stuff in the morning, and I won't be able to record so late. So unfortunately, you don't get my Phoenix and Denver game 4 analysis, but nonetheless, we're starting to get some good series. I think every series is now down to where at least the other team has won a game. So guaranteed more basketball coming up. But like I said last episode, we're kind of looking at a pace now where these finals are going to come up really quick at us in the last week of May maybe. And it's just like, damn, it's all flying by pretty quick. And it sucks because then we're going to have to talk about baseball, which I love, but I know a lot of you guys don't. So enjoy the playoffs while they're still around, and enjoy NBA basketball while it's still here because it's one of the most exciting things to watch during this time. And now moving on to the NHL, where we're in this cycle of the playoffs. We're kind of in the same situation here as the NBA. A lot of the teams are starting to win their other games, so the series are going to start to kick off a little bit more. We're going to talk about where we left off on Friday. The Hurricanes and the Devils played their Game 2 on Friday. And I talked about in last episode how the Devils in Game 1 came out flat. They looked like they just weren't ready, and they were tired from the 7-game series against New York. But, I mean, in this game, it looked like it as well. They lost 6-1 in Game 2. In Carolina, they had to pull the goalie. It was so bad for New Jersey. Kotkaniemi scored 2 goals for Carolina. It was just another thing where they were outpaced, out-hustled, out-muscled throughout the entire game. There was not one point in that game where you could have looked like and be like, maybe New Jersey can come back. It was an absolute shit show for New Jersey throughout that time. And then on Saturday, another blowout happened. The Oilers defeated the Vegas Golden Knights 5-1 in Las Vegas. And again, on the last episode, we talked about Leon Draisaitl having 4 goals in that game and being one of the key players for this Edmonton team. And he just went ahead and dropped 2 more goals in this game to help lead to a 5-1 victory. Couple fights happening in that game. That series is starting to get intense, and that's kind of what we need in hockey because we'll talk about some more fights here in a little bit as well. But that's what playoff hockey is all about. People playing with a lot of emotion, and knowing that every single game counts in the playoffs now, right? So playing with this type of aggression is what we've needed in the playoffs. And it's good to have series that guys are playing their hearts out like this. The only thing that sucks about the NHL playoffs right now is that there's a lot of days where games are going one day apiece. And except for Sunday where there's 3 games in one day, but it's whatever. But moving on to Sunday, the Devils and the Hurricanes played their Game 3. The Devils ended up coming out and looking so much better. So much better. They win that game 8-4. They were up 4-1 at one point. Carolina would not go down. There were like 3 or 4 fights within that game. We're starting to get chippy here, and it's super exciting to watch because it's the question now. Jack Hughes got into a fight, and when Jack Hughes is trying to fight, that's when you know that the entire team's going to get riled up. He's not a guy who's going to go out there and fight for your team necessarily. He's your flashy star player. He doesn't want to get in the mix and fight. But when he's going out there and trying to slam the other players into the ground and get on top of them on the ice, as a fight breaks out in the game I'm watching right now. But when he's doing that type of stuff, that's when you know that the series is getting fired up and taking a turn. But the Devils win that game 8-4. A lot of offense. Jack Hughes, we just mentioned, with 2 goals and 2 apples in that game as well. Carolina, they had to pull Freddie Anderson pretty early on and put Kachachev, or I think that's how you pronounce it. I think it's like, Kachachev into the game and play for them. That's where they were able to kind of capitalize a little bit more with him in net. Moving on to the next game that happened here on Sunday that's going on right now on my TV. Like I said, there was a fight that's breaking out. Looks like there was a hit from Bunting, I believe, for Toronto. It's the Maple Leafs and the Panthers. They've had a couple days off while they travel to Florida from Toronto. Right now, the Maple Leafs have a 1-0 lead with, I think it was Sam Lafferty that just scored a minute ago. It was. Sam Lafferty just scored a goal a second ago. They're up 1-0 right now. They just need to come out with energy, and that's what it looks like they're doing right now. It looks like they're coming out with a lot more speed and energy, which has been lacking for them in that series with Game 1 and Game 2, especially Game 2. But we're not going to talk much about that since it's on right now. And then the other game to note is the Stars and the Kraken that's going on after this Toronto and Florida game. My Seattle Kraken will be playing their Game 3 in Seattle. I can't say I want everybody to watch the game because you're not going to be able to see it before the episode comes out, but the Seattle crowd is going to be electric, and I can't wait to see how the Kraken come out after last game with your terrible defensive mistakes and lack of attention to detail on the defensive side. It'll be interesting to see. Jared McCann, who's been out since Game 5 of last year against Colorado with a concussion, has been cleared to practice without the red jersey, which means cleared for contact, which is really good for Seattle here coming up. But it's going to be a battle of who's going to win the defensive side of it with Dallas and Seattle. You know both teams are going to score goals, so who's going to come out defensively on top is going to be the end of winner of the game. Obviously, that's how every sport is played. If you play good defense, you're going to win the game. But especially in this series with 2 high-power offenses, it's all going to come down to 1 or 2 stops with an advantage or on a power play, and it's going to make a difference in the series. But that's the NHL. Those are all the series that are really going on. We're getting down to it and all these things. Once we get down to the conference finals in both sports of hockey and basketball, we'll probably break down a lot more in detail. So, but for right now, I'm just going to kind of give you guys a little overview of those games, and we'll just kind of go from there. I know a lot of you guys can't watch some of these games or don't watch some of the games, so I kind of want to give you a little bit of synopsis of what happens, a little bit of a brief overview if you missed it, and if you don't watch it, to get you knowing some of the guys' names and who really performed well. But that's it for the playoffs here in the NHL, and we'll move on to baseball. For the first time, we're really going to do some in-depth baseball talk here, and we've had some good games throughout this weekend. A lot of interesting things going on. A little in-house talk. The Red Sox win their series against the Phillies 2-1. Kenley Jansen up to 399 career saves, one away from 400 after getting a save in Game 1 and Game 2. He's going to be, I think they said like the 7th or 8th or something like that, player all time to hit 400 saves in their career, which is leading Kenley right on track for the Hall of Fame, which is exciting for him. The Cardinals finally winning a baseball game, it looks like. It just seems like they're just so out of luck. There's a report coming out about Wilson Contreras, who they just signed this offseason to be their starting catcher after Yadier Molina retired to a big contract. I think it was 80-something million coming over from the Cubs, and he has just not played up to whatever standard they expected of him. There were reports of him moving him to the outfield, like one of the corner outfield spots. It's just like, that's not Wilson Contreras. Your best bet is Wilson Contreras behind the plate or DHing. Like, do not put him in the corner outfield. Your team is so bad right now. You can't, like, I understand you want to try to get something going, maybe mix something up to see what happens, but I don't think that's going to be the case to lead for you to find any success is putting your catcher in one of the corner outfield spots. Since we last talked about the Pirates, they suck. As we all expected. The Pirates weren't going to last that long, right? You know, it's one of those things, you get off to the season with a hot start, and then you run into some teams that are really good. They just ran into the Rays and the Blue Jays, and they got, I think they went 0-for-6 in all of those games. So, you know, eventually it was going to happen here with Pittsburgh. They're still a fun team to watch, but don't expect more success from them going forward. The Yankees and the Rays played a series this weekend. The Rays win that series 2-1. Game 1, I think it was the Randy Arozarena home run game. Yeah, it was. The Arozarena home run to put them ahead 5-4, win that game. Game 2, the Yankees respond with a Harrison Bader 2-run single. I think that put them ahead. They scored 3 runs in the 8th inning. Ended up winning that game. Tampa was winning 2-0. That was the start from Domingo Germán and Rasmussen, maybe? Yeah. And then on Sunday, the Rays win that game in extra innings, final in 10. 8-7 victory. The Tampa Bay Rays win that game. The Yankees, it was a Garrett Cole start. They had a 6-0 lead going into the 5th. Tampa Bay scores 2. And then the next inning, they put up a 5 spot and absolutely blow out the Yankees in that capacity. Garrett Cole's worst start of the season. The Yankees ended up putting another run up on the board to send it to extras, and then a single from Isaac Paredes into right field gets them the win there. We'll go over some of the standings in the MLB. We'll kind of break down some of the bigger games as we get to the summer when it's going to be some of our only stuff. But looking at the American League, this is the worst division. Well, not the worst, but it's the best worst division in baseball. It's the worst to be in, but the best to watch. 4 teams in the American League East have 20-plus wins. There are some leagues that don't even have anybody who has 20 wins. The Rays have 28. The Orioles have 22, and then the Blue Jays and Red Sox both have 21, and those are your 1 through 4 seeds. The Yankees are in 5th with 18 wins. That's a bloodbath. It's going to be a bloodbath. It'll be fun to watch. Moving on to the Central, the Twins lead the AL Central with 19 wins. The Guardians are right behind them with 16, and the Tigers follow with 15. The White Sox and Royals are in 4th and 5th with terrible seasons so far. The AL West, another little close, tight race, 1 through 4, and then there's 5. The Rangers and the Angels are tied for first right now. Or rather, the Rangers have the sole lead of first place, 19-13 record. The Angels are in second with 19 wins but 15 losses. Astros, the defending world champs, are in third, 17-16. And then in fourth place, the Mariners are 16-17, who started off pretty bad looking, but they're starting to come around now and playing the baseball that we saw towards the end of the year from Seattle last year. The National League East, we got a top-heavy area with Atlanta, 24-11. That is second in the MLB, I believe, with most wins. And then right after that, you got Miami, New York, and Philly, all with 17 and 16 wins, all within one game of one another. It can fluctuate. Miami will drop down to 4, and then Philly will jump up to 2. Something crazy is going to happen. This Marlins team isn't supposed to be very good, but they have some key players like Luis Arraez they got from Minnesota. Obviously, Jazz Chisholm is going to be a stud for them. They called up Peyton Burdick, who's been killing the ball in AAA. They got some good guys on that team. New York, they just got to get healthy. Scherzer and Verlander got to clean it up. Verlander's got to make a couple more starts. And then the Phillies, they just got to not strike out 150 times because that was their issue this weekend. They were striking out thousands of times to the Red Sox starters that should not have struck them out, like Corey Kluber. But Chris Sale having a great game against them this weekend. And then on to the Central in the NL. The Pirates still have first place in the division with 20 wins and 15 losses. But the Brewers are creeping up right behind them with 18 wins. Cubs follow with 17 and 17, dead even at 500. They called up Matt Mervis, their stud first baseman prospect, over the weekend. So hopefully he can help make a change or jumpstart his MLB career off. And then the Reds and Cardinals are 4th and 5th. Reds 14 and 19. And then the Cardinals dead last. 11 and 24. Absolute shit show from St. Louis, like I mentioned. Moving on to the NL West, the final division in the National League. Another close race. Even 1 through 5 right now is pretty close. The Dodgers are 20 and 14 and have first place, but right behind them is Arizona with 19 wins and 14 losses. San Diego, who made the splashes of the offseason and now got Fernando Tatis back, have 18 wins. And then the Giants and the Rockies, who are kind of, the tier below those 3 teams, but still in contention, kind of. Only 3 games back of the 3rd seed. And then 4 games back from 1 is the Giants, and then the Rockies follow them there. Right now, the standings don't really matter. If you're standing watching in the MLB at this point in the season, I advise you don't. It's not that exciting. I just do it just to give some of the people who really aren't paying attention to baseball, don't watch baseball, an idea of what teams are performing well right now, what teams are not performing well. We'll go into more detail about these other teams, like I mentioned, in the future. But this is all kicking off to be a good MLB season. It's looking like college baseball is really heating up, getting into their postseason. I know my Southern Miss Golden Eagles are on a 10-game win streak right now and have a chance to host a site maybe in the postseason. Depends on how the tournament play is. But, man, some good time here in sports and a lot of exciting things to look forward to here. But one more thing to note about sports. We'll go into college basketball, as we just talked about college baseball there. College basketball, the big thing over the weekend, Bronny James commits to USC to play his collegiate career. Exciting stuff for Bronny. I think a lot of people expected Ohio State, honestly. But, man, I think a lot of people didn't see this coming, but they did. He's going to do well there at USC. Obviously, teaming up with Isaiah Collier, the number 1 player in the class here at USC. Both of them guards, but I think it's going to work out for him. So congrats to Bronny for his commitment to his new school. I think he's going to shock a lot of people with his play who really haven't got to watch him play much. I'm rooting for the kid because he hasn't done anything wrong. I know obviously LeBron gets a lot of slander for being LeBron, but I really feel I feel where this kid is coming from. He's just trying to live his normal life and play basketball and make a name for himself. He's not choosing to live underneath his dad's lifestyle. It just so happens that his dad is LeBron James. So I'm really rooting for the kid, and I hope he creates his own career because he can honestly be a serviceable NBA player. Does he right now have the projections to be a superstar? No, not at all. But if you can find a way in the NBA and play for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, like you're a good NBA player. So congrats to Bronny on that. And USC looking good for basketball here coming up this year after a kind of shaky year last year. They look to capitalize on getting two of the top recruits in the country in Bronny James and Isaiah Collier. And to end this podcast off, we're gonna introduce a new segment that, I think we're gonna do it every episode. It depends on if you guys like it or not. I don't know about you who are listening, but I am a idiotic gambler in life. I like to sports bet. I think it's fun for me. It makes the games a little bit more exciting, and you have a chance to win a little bit of money off of it. I think if you gamble responsibly and you understand your limits, it's a fun thing to do. Now, I wouldn't say I'm a degenerate, but you can call me one if you'd like to. I don't have an addiction at all, I promise. But I want to introduce Alex's picks. We're going to do top 5 picks here on Monday and Tuesday. We'll do Monday and Tuesday because those are a little bit easier to project from this far out with what the lines are going to be and everything. No specific line from any sports book. I don't have any affiliation or any pick'em site. I have no affiliation. I'm open for negotiations with anybody who wants to sponsor me, obviously. So I'm not going to throw any names out on who I use or where I get my information or lines from. But I'm going to go with 5 picks that I think you should look forward to here on Monday and Tuesday. And we'll start in the NBA. On Monday night, the Golden State Warriors take on the LA Lakers. The line right now is 3.5-point favorites for the LA Lakers. I'm going to go with the Golden State Warriors plus 3.5 at minus 112. I think you could even go money line at plus 132. I think this is going to be a back and forth flip-flop series. One team wins a game, come back, win the other, win another one, and it's just going to go back and forth. So I would not shy away from Golden State plus 3.5 here. As I just mentioned, the 76ers and the Celtics just played. And they don't play again until Tuesday. But right now, the opening line for the 76ers Celtics game is Philly plus 7. I don't know if that seems high to me, but something I'm looking forward to right here, or I'm looking towards here, is the game total of 214.5. I like that. Hit the over on that, definitely. 214.5. Two great offenses, but good defenses. But again, Boston needs this game desperately, so they're going to come out shooting much better than they did. I like the over 214.5 there. Moving on to, we'll go with the NHL. The Vegas Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers play on Monday night as this podcast comes out. The line is in favor of the Oilers at minus 176 on the money line. That is a large amount. I think Vegas bounces back at plus 146 on the money line. I think that's a very good value for that. Plus 146 is not bad. And even if you go Vegas plus 1.5 on the spread, you're still getting it at minus 160, which is much less than the minus 176. So if you want to go with that, go for it. You can parlay it with some other stuff if you want to. It depends on what you like to do in that aspect. And then moving on to the MLB, I don't have any specific lines right now for these games, but I'm just going to pick winners on Monday based on pitching matchups. So I've given you 3. I'm going to give you 2 more here for Monday night, and then I'm going to give you 1 player prop for Tuesday or Wednesday, whichever day you want to do it. It does not matter which day. Looking at the games on Monday night, if you can get the Rays at good value against the Baltimore Orioles with Shane McClanahan on the mound, do that. I think that's a great pick for you if you're listening. I also like the White Sox if they get a good enough number with Dylan Cease on the mound. I know he hasn't had a great year, but you're playing the Royals. Zach Greinke is meh as he's 55 years old. Dylan Cease is going to come back and have a good game here, I believe. The Cubs and Cardinals are playing. Take the Cubs. It's fade Cardinals mode right now. Whatever you can do, if you can find a way to fade the Cardinals, especially against a serviceable baseball team, take the other side. We're fading the Cardinals until they can prove us otherwise. I know I just said I'm going to give you guys 5 picks. Who gives a shit? It's our first episode, so go ahead. I'm going to throw around all these things I got here. Actually, that's probably all I got. No, I got one more. The Rangers and Mariners, John Gray taking on Logan Gilbert, find a way to take the Mariners on the money line. And for player prop wise, take Gabe Vincent for the Miami Heat to hit 2+ threes, Max Strus to hit 2+ threes, Jimmy Butler's points, look at the over, Bam Adebayo, double-double. I think Miami comes out in this game and has a great one. If you're looking at the Lakers and Warriors, take a look at Dante DiVincenzo's points, take a look at Andrew Wiggins' rebounds, take a look at LeBron James' assist and rebounds, see what both of those are at, and you could choose there. And then for baseball, I'm going to give you the best player, the hottest player in baseball right now, 16-game hitting streak for your Boston Red Sox, Masataka Yoshida, to record a hit. It's probably going to be insanely terrible odds. You can take him to record 2 hits. I think he can do it. He's been averaging about 2 hits a game. He's hitting 320-something right now. He's killing it. If you even want to go for a home run, they're playing Atlanta. Balls fly out of that ballpark. And Charlie Morton is pitching on Tuesday against the Red Sox. So righty on lefty. Would not be surprised if Yoshida goes yard in that game as well. But that's going to be Alex's picks. I know that was out of control for the first episode or the first time doing this segment of that. But I kind of just want to give you all my thoughts on how I go about betting and what I think about. I like to go for role players in the NBA because I think that they hold a lot of value in the playoffs right now. The important role players, that is. On Friday, I'll actually do my top 5 for the weekend. It'll be a little bit more structured. I just wanted to give you guys my picks because I know a lot of you actually listen to me when I talk about betting and gambling. For some idiotic reason, you do that. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys a couple of mine here for Monday and somewhat of Tuesday. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you maybe take word of some of the things I've said and maybe use it. But if you don't, you can go laugh at me on Friday and call me an idiot whenever all of my picks end up losing. I lose a lot of money. But that's that on betting. And that'll do it for today's episode. I know it's a little bit longer of an episode than it probably should have been because of the fact I went on forever about gambling or baseball. But that's going to do it. Hope you guys enjoyed the games that are coming up this week. A lot of good games. Some series could potentially end by the next time we talk. A series could potentially be over. And that's kind of scary to think about. An NHL series could be over or an NBA series could be over. We're getting down to it. It kind of sucks, but it's also very exciting. So I hope you guys enjoy the games this week. Hope everybody has a good week. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you guys on Friday. And I'm Alex McNinch as always, and this has been your Sports Digest.